Hi folks, sorry for the mix-up there. Of course, Doyle Dykes here at home, and sorry for the little problem that we had there. Last night I was in this very room just by myself, just playing on this Gretsch guitar. This has become my very favorite electric guitar that I have here, and I have a lot of them. But this is just great. It has a solid spruce top, no Bigsby on it though, but it just sings, just wonderful guitar. And this was a gift from Fred and Dinah Gretsch just recently, and I'm real happy with that. So I enjoy just playing without plugging in. And of course I have my Rivera Sedona, and I have a lot of guitars around me now, and so we'll just have fun with it. I have this old J-200 here. This is you can't plug this in, there's nothing to plug in. Makes me dizzy. J-200, I tell you what, I used to dream about having a guitar like this, and I got this from Kelly Barber, Action Sound. I wouldn't have any of these really if it wasn't for Kelly. All these old guitars through the years I have gotten from him in Hawkins, Texas. So this was a Texas guitar. Even sounds like a Texas guitar. T for Texas, T for Tennessee. T for Thelma, that gal that's made a red cow to me. Wonderful guitar. I'll tell you what, I used to look at these guitars in this very book when I was just a kid, and I found this in Mom and Dad's piano bench a couple of years ago. Mom says, well, you can have that, it's yours anyway. And I used to just sit and look at these things. I still remember the little jungle scene in the front, and the photos that they had, and look at that. There it is, Holly. Isn't that something? Super 400. My goodness. My. Look at this. Look at these guitars. Johnny Smith, Trini Lopez, Barney Kessel, Tal Farlow. Oh, my Lord. And this was the page. The Super 400 and the L5. Now, I've had both, actually, and my first really incredible guitar looked exactly like that, with the Florentine cutaway. I was 17 years old. I used to pray, oh God, please let me have a guitar like that. And they were a lot of money even back then, so much money. And I went down to 8th and Main, and there was a pawn shop, and after school I rode down there, and I looked in the window, and there it was, $300. And it was like brand new. And this thing was worth probably, I don't know, at least $1,500 to $2,000, maybe more, even then. And I was in the 10th grade, and or maybe the 11th grade. And that's when I sold my guild, and I bought that guitar. It was the most incredible deal I've ever seen, even to this day. But the Lord allowed me to have that guitar. I'll tell you what I did with it in just a moment. But here's the other page I used to look at all the time. Of course, I love the Firebirds and all those things, and I thought about the Skinnerd Boys and those guys. But here you go. Here's the guitar I have right here, the J-200, and then the old Dove right next to it. And I have one in my closet right here by us, just like this one. So I have both of these guitars. Never dreamed I would have anything like this. And like I say, I got both those from Kelly. I wouldn't have any of that. This is the old Gibson catalog. And Holly, don't step on it, and I'll try not either. But I'll show you some more things that I gathered up last night. And let's see. And the Gretsch. I used to go downtown, and Marvin K's, Fred Paulus handled the Gibson and Martin's, and Marvin K handled the Fender and the Gretsch. And they weren't even connected back then as they are now. But that's the way they had the stores. And I would just dream of just holding a White Falcon. And now, because of the Gretsch folks, I have 3 of them. And the way they got started, I was at a NAMM show a few years ago, and Dave Pomeroy, the great bass player from Nashville, was with me. And I was with Guild Guitars, and I said, hey, Fender is part of the same family, and wonder if they'd let us play the White Falcons. And there was a White Falcon bass and a White Falcon guitar right next to each other. So he said, well, you know, it's better to ask permission or ask forgiveness than permission, or easier. So we went over and just grabbed them and did the next show with Gretsch guitars. And they came up and took some photos of me and said, later on they contacted me and said, do you mind if we put your photo in our catalog? And I'm going, is that a trick question? I mean, what kind of question is that? And they had all these famous people here. Reverend Billy Gibbons, and of course they have Chet Atkins and Dwayne Eddy and Reverend Horton Heat and Bono, and there's Dwayne Eddy. And then, lo and behold, on the White Falcon page of all things, this is in the Gretsch catalog. This is from several years ago. And I just couldn't believe they did that. And so they gave me not only one page with the whole page, but the whole section here, the 2-page on the White Falcon. And they identified me with that because we grabbed those guitars, and I always wanted to just play one. And so this was just a few years ago that happened at NAMM. And that was why I was playing. It was amazing at the show. Had no idea they were even taking those photos. And then later on, when they came out with this catalog, they said, do you mind if we use that same photo? And of course, like I said, they have all these great people and famous people, and here they go again, and put me in the Gretsch catalog. So I was destined to be a part of Gretsch. And of course, this year I came out with the Return of the Falcon CD and wrote a song about a White Falcon. And so anyway, that's all this kind of just culminated together. And then of course I used to dream of I had a Guild guitar, but some of these really great guitars and some of the flat top guitars. And of course here I am with my signature guitar in the Guild catalog. And Ren Ferguson, who was initially with Gibson and ran the Gibson Bozeman factory, the acoustic plant there, he went over to Fender after he retired from that, and they brought him over to Fender. Larry Thomas brought him out of retirement, and they brought me in at the same time. And he said, Doyle, your guitars are outselling, your model's outselling all the others. And I said, really? All the other signature? I said, well, how many signature models do they have? He said, no, I mean all the others. All of them put together. I just couldn't believe it. I said, all of them? He said, all of them. All of the models. And so it was just blessed. I couldn't believe that. And it was just another thing. Oh, by the way, I found an old 1966 Fender price list. And my dad or me, one of the two of us, I think it was Dad, that underlined the Basement and the Super Reverb, which he ended up buying both of those. And the price of those amplifiers were about $100 more than the Stratocaster guitar, if you can believe that. They were over $400. And there's the amp right there. There's the Super Reverb. And we had the dual showman. He had a Basement as well, and we had a dual showman also that he donated to the church. I just thought that was interesting, that the amps cost more than the guitars. It was about 20 years ago, next year I think, Bob Taylor approached me and he said, I'd like for you to work with me on a project with a hexaphonic pickup. And the only guy that'll work with this is Lloyd Baggs. And I'd heard of Lloyd through Phil Keggy, knew Phil used his LV6 pickup for a long time. I said, I've always wanted to meet that guy and work with him somehow. And it was a dream to do that. And he said, well, he wants to work with you. And so we worked for 3 years and on the hexaphonic pickup. And then we came up with this guitar right here. And these are the prototypes of the hexaphonic system right here. This is the very first Taylor Doyle Dykes model. And as you can see, it doesn't have the abalone trim yet on it. We added that later because we thought that it would work out better aesthetically because of the beautiful rose on the headstock. And so they ended up doing the abalone trim on it because it was just so fancy. We didn't intend on that at first, but this was Larry Breedlove's work. I worked with Larry, and he would send me these drawings. I have the drawings in the next room. And I approved this one, and but that was Larry Breedlove that drew this out. And what a beautiful instrument that ended up being. And they put it in all of their catalogs, of course. But what's funny, it was supposed to have been a limited edition, limited to 100. And I said, well, you have to have a natural guitar. And so they also made it a natural. And they said, well, we'll limit that to 100 as well. Well, they sold 450 the first day, or by the second day. And they said, we have a problem. We have oversold 2.5 times what we should have sold in a year. So they had to go back and unsell them, and then said, this will come out as a model, but we'll make a few changes, a couple of changes on it, which we did. And one of the things that didn't have quite as ornate of wood on it, they tried to do that. They actually, most of them did. I mean, they were just beautiful guitars. Here it is in their catalog, and they would take it out for a year, and then they said, well, we're not going to offer it anymore. And then they kept selling them and getting requests for them. And so they danced around with that for years, and it ended up being on the line for 10 years. And about half that time, it was in the catalog. And here's the white rose here in the beautiful guitar. Here it is in natural. And it was their best-selling signature guitar. And I'm very thankful to say this. The only one of these I got that they gave me, I think, was in German. They gave it to me at the German trade show. This was actually Dad's. I bought this for him, or I think they probably gave it to him. It has a card in there for Bubba Dykes. Here it is right here, so I'm sure they gave it to him. I didn't read it. But I just happened to find this last night, and I just thought I would dig up some of this stuff for you. Here's the Doyle Dykes model in the Taylor book that they put out a few years ago. Thilo Kramny, actually, from Germany, put this book together, and it was worldwide. It was all over the world. This was the very first orange one. Now, I don't have that guitar anymore. It belongs to Roger, a friend of mine up in in Nashville. Roger McCalman owns this guitar now, but this was the very first orange model. They call it the Desert Rose, which was my idea. I kept saying, make an orange guitar. People would love that. Sure, Doyle, get a life, you know. And I said, well, what if we do a Desert Rose? And so they actually came out with a Desert Rose, and it worked. It turned out to be a beautiful example, and just a beautiful guitar. And you would see it on everything they did. It was their best-selling signature guitar, they said, and then they told me, in the history of that company. Now, Taylor Swift may have passed that by now. I don't know. I don't own one of her models. I actually was waiting for the Lady Gaga model to come out. So, just kidding. But anyway, those were great little. They were a baby Taylor. This is the Guild signature Doyle Dykes model, and they all have a white rose on them. If you can see this one here, the white rose. The white roses are here. Now, this was designed by Yuri Shishkov, who is the guy that makes their, you know, $150,000, $200,000 Telecasters and Stratocasters at the NAMM show that are so ornate, and he uses diamonds and precious stones and jewelry. He is a master craftsman from Eastern Europe. He designed these roses for my guitar. Even the Fender guy said, Yuri did that for you, for your Guild? He said, man, that's cool. Even the major Fender guys said that. And so this is when it was under the umbrella of Fender, and this was made in New Hartford, Connecticut. So if you can find one of these, they're getting more rare now. And this is one that we found there. Actually, Paul Huber, I remember the day he bought it, I was there. I said, I would get that one. He says, man, I already have my name on it. And then later on, when they sold the company, he said, Doyle, if you want that guitar, you know, I'll just sell it to you. And so he did. And so I got it at his cost, I think. And he did it just so I could have it. But what a beautiful guitar. So I've had a number of signature models. They came out with the anniversary things, and now here's the first prototype of the Godin. Now this is a totally different animal than any other of these other guitars. Totally different than the Guild, of course, or the Taylor. I mean, this is a multi-act. It's thin. It's basically more like a nut bowl, but it's braced on the inside, on the top. Oh, we must have been playing White Rose for Heidi. Of course, all of this was inspired by the song I wrote called White Rose for Heidi. Even with the Taylor, they said that we need something on the headstock that would say Doyle Dykes without saying Doyle Dykes. And T.J. Baden and the guys that were in a round table discussion said that you have to have a white rose because of your story. And so the white roses on there, I showed you on the Guild. Now these are the white roses on the Godin. Of course, the Godin will list for half of what this listed for back in 2000. And so these will go, I think the list on these are like $2,500. Now what I did on this, still working with Lloyd Baggs all these years, this is the LB6, just like my Olson has. And here's my Olson guitar. And now let me back up a little bit. The first guitar I ever saw with a rose on it was an Olson. James Olson made it. And James made this for me. It's very similar to the Taylor, but if you look close, it's a lot more ornate. Actually, there's a lot more work done on this guitar. Of course, it's a wonderful instrument. They all are. This is made by James Olson. This is Pernambuco on the back and side. So it's a totally different type of guitar, a more specialty, custom-made guitar. But what we did on this, there's a little box that I had, Holly. I don't know what I did with it, but there was a little effects box, and I have the prototype because they wanted me to check it out and to look at it. I don't think it's over there. Sorry, folks, but it's called the Session DI. And what it does, it adds multiband compression and harmonic distortion. And basically what you get, harmonic distortion, is what you get out of a tube. But what they do with this is the same thing they do when they master a record. You'll record it, you'll mix it, you think you have it, and then you'll take it down to Georgetown Masters in Nashville or David Huff, and they'll take it and put it through this process and do very little to it, but it just pops. It just makes it just sound good. This is built in. This pedal is actually built in to this guitar. And so this is a very unique guitar. It also has a microphone inside. And so you blend the mic with the LB6. And then, of course, you have your EQ section here. So this, in order to get out of here, what I have in the Olson is just strictly a volume control. But this guitar costs, 10 times what one of these would cost. And so in order to get a sound like that, that would sound anywhere near that, they have done this more with electronics, because it's still a guitar. It's still acoustic, it's still braced, but the size of it, the comfort of it, it's an amazing little guitar. They stay in tune great. It's great for traveling. It's a totally different instrument. But they've done this with electronics. It's amazing. Now, this is the prototype, and it has a slotted headstock on there. So midway through the year, I asked them, or back in the spring, if they could change this. And they have worked relentlessly to do this. And Robert Godin and all the guys over there agreed to just say, let's do what Doyle wants on this guitar. And so they agreed to do this, and so I'm going to unveil this. Now, what I said a while ago, I was going to share something with you about my Taylor and this L5. It's funny, but this L5 that I got when I was 17 years old, many years later, Holly, you remember what I did with that, don't you? I sold this guitar for thousands of dollars. And I bought 2 guitars with it. I bought my first Taylor, and I bought, Holly, your first Taylor that Chet signed. Remember that? Chet Atkins signed it, and it was for your 16th birthday. And I ended up using my first Taylor and then that one together, and blended those together to get this, the sizes of them. So it was the depth of your guitar and the size of my auditorium. So it was the depth of a grand concert, size of the auditorium. And so I got that through this guitar, because I didn't have the money. I was, still young, a father, and trying to make a living playing and concerts and so forth. And so that's how I bought my first Taylor. The rest of the money was a down payment on a house, and that's where we lived on the other side of Cleveland over there a few years ago. Just for your information. All right, now here we're going to look and see what we have here. This may be, I knew I was taking a chance. One of my friends said, "Oh, why don't you just act like you're unboxing it for the first time?" Oh my gosh, look. But I said, no, I'm too honest for that. I just can't do it. And so here we go. It's probably that has the Godin guys a little nervous here. If I didn't think it was going to be great, believe me, I wouldn't be doing this. And so this is when I need Caleb. Okay, now here we are, folks. This is the first time I've seen it, and you're going to see it with me. You're right in here with me. So thank you, Lord, for blessing this like you blessed all these others. And I say what I said a while ago because they were blessed. And we call this one blessed in Jesus' name. Thank you, Lord. Oh, look. There it is. Solid headstock. Look at this. There you go. Solid headstock, Godin, and here, and they did change the roses. They made them prettier. Oh, they did improve that. They said, "You're going to like it." Well, I do. I like it a lot. Gorgeous. Gorgeous guitar. Okay. I don't want to keep you all night, folks, so let's plug it in and see what it sounds like. And I've done this so many years, folks. I have plugged in guitars for the first time, and they didn't work. But this is not going to be one of those. So you never know what happens. We usually blame it on the UPS guys. Sorry about that, guys. What would we do without them? All right, let's see. I have a signal. Oh, it's looking good, Mario. Simone, you did a good job on this headstock. All right, now. Ooh, hot pickup. Oh, yeah. Danielle also did, oh, you did a great job on this, Danielle. Plays great. All the guys at Godin, thank you so much. Now let me explain what it does. Now, this is just pickup. Now I have it going through my little zoom, and I'm not using any effects, just as a little preamp, so I can mute it. Very balanced. And here's the mic. Here's the mic. I'll always play that. Always, it makes me think of Pierre Matisse. And that's just the mic, but what you do is, this is just pickup. Now we're not there yet, folks. Here's the pickup, or the microphone. I like just a little bit. Just give you that air, you know. Oh, it sounds really great. Now here's where the magic comes in. This is the Session DI pedal. Here's without. Holly, you can hear that warmth that comes in. It's there. A pre-NAMM showcase here. This is a pre-NAMM release right here out of my little guitar room just for you. We wanted to do something that was supposed to have been at NAMM and release it now. I said, can I just do some, can I unbox this thing? And they agreed to let me do it. So thanks guys, all Robert, all you guys. Mario, Simone. Oh yeah, by the way. Oh yeah, look at this. Now I'll put my strings on it, wind them up the right way, but that is perfect. Oh yeah, you can do the string bend real easy on this one. Mike Robertson probably said, can you do the string bend on it? Yes sir, he can. And so there it is, guys. I tell you what, this is not your grandpa's guitar. This is not a 1958 J-200, but this will do the trick. And it also doesn't cost $12,000. But I think this is going to be a great little guitar. I know it is. I feel good about it. My goodness, my Lord, I love it. It's just super. We're actually doing a show at Huber Breeze. That'll be on the 7th, so it's only a few days from now, and we're going to be showing this guitar up there. But this, honestly, this is what you saw. This is the truth. I have not seen this guitar. I said the other prototype with the slot, all that stuff, but this is the first time. So this was not an act. And you guys are saying, thank God it worked good. You remember the movie Tucker when they showed the car and it was all done in, it just had it. Oh man, they didn't have duct tape back then, but had they had it, it would have been all over that Tucker to keep it together. But what a beautiful car it ended up being, and the innovations they had in there. Let me say about this guitar, nothing's held together with duct tape and fern strips. These guys know what they're doing. They've been doing this a long time. The Multiac has been one of their flagship guitars, if not their flagship instrument. Nobody has made these guitars as consistently and has put the investment in this type of guitar like Robert Godin has. And for years I thought they should have done it with some of the other manufacturers. Now, Gil was going to come out with a guitar that was co-designed by, and I put it together. It was one of my models, in fact, with Kirk Sand, and it was $5,000. I think $5 or maybe $59.99. It was very expensive, and but he's kept his prices down on this, and the quality of it's here. We still have the nylon string that will match this guitar as well. It won't be a Doyle Dykes model, but this is something that's very unique. And will actually work. So I'm very thankful. Thank you guys for allowing me to do this. It also has the strap lock strap pins on here too, so I can put my my old Ace strap on here that Heidi and Haley and you maybe got me for my birthday. I think you girls bought that for me. And so really, really great. I'm very excited about this. So this is going to be going with me on some of my Christmas tours. And so I'm thankful that I've had the relationship with Taylor and with Fender Guild, and also with Gretsch. I'm not necessarily exclusive with anyone, but the thing is, when I see a company that does a great job, and I told Robert, would you like for me to put a little different spin on this? It's different than the other guitars. On Guitar Poor, I actually used a guitar similar to this. I didn't have this one, but it's one of their Multiac model guitars because it sounds so different than all the others on there. And that's the main guitar on Guitar Poor on my new record. Speaking of my new record, can we have time to say something about that, Holly?
Yes.
We have a special here that has been doing very, very well. In fact, here they are. Sorry, I've just been throwing things around. This is, we have two little different bags we've been using as a gift bag, but you get 3 CDs. You get the Christmas CD, of course, and which was one of my favorite CDs that I've ever done. Yes. Also, right here, it started right here on this couch in this room. The dream for this coming from Fred Gretsch when I was on the phone with him. And Mark Thornton helped me out, and David Huff with this to put this together in a very short amount of time. And so this is the Gretsch record, I call it. The Return of the Falcon. And the Return of the Falcon song sounds a lot. It's a cool sounding song. It sounds kind of like a Telecaster, and but with a Bigsby, and a big fat Telecaster at that. But it's a white Falcon. And this is Life Behind the Guitar. This album this just came out about a week ago, right?
Yeah, and this one comes signed in this special.
That's right. I signed the Life Behind the Guitar, and I spent a lot of time doing this. In fact, I helped Holly put all these together. I shouldn't say that, but I did. I was packing them up with, because I mean, it is a lot of work. Well, because we had this overwhelming response that we've had over the weekend on these. So we're going to allow this to go through the holiday season. I think you said the last time that you guarantee for Christmas would be about December 15th, 16th, somewhere.
Probably around there, yeah.
We'll still send them out, and but we'll, you know, but this is what we'll do, and it comes with a little tissue here and with a gift bag. But this our 3-pack here, so this is 3 for what are they, $30?
Yeah,
for all 3, plus shipping, and it's not all that much for shipping. But and that's our deal. So
yeah, doylestore.com.
Yeah.
That's where you get them.
Now, are we doing the other the 12 CDs or whatever the?
Yeah, if you go to doylestore.com, you want to give them as gifts. We do have a few that are available in as a dozen. Actually, it's those 3. They're available
as a 12-pack.
As 12-pack each individually, yeah.
So you can get 12 of these. Now, what I've done in the past, I've sold them to churches and they give them to their staff members. Also sold them to like the state headquarters, and they'll give them to the retired ministers or people that are on their committees and that sort of thing. Every year, I usually end up doing that. And also, car lots have places like that. So Doyle, we'd like to buy so many, a box of your CDs just to give to some of our clients. And another friend of mine today told me he wanted to buy a whole bunch of these things. And so that's a good way to get them. So it's 12 of them for $99.99. Is that right? 99
about
bucks.
99, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. So go on the website, but so anyway, it turned out being they turned out to be a good price, and we'll also offer that on this one and also on this one. And so, folks, thank you so much. I'm very excited about my new guitar, the Doyle Dykes model Godin multi-act. It's a great instrument. I'm real happy about it. Couldn't wait till now, and thanks for joining us tonight. And I hope you guys have a really, really Merry Christmas. Great holiday season, and wherever you may be. And just keep playing and go out and share your gift. If you play guitar, no matter what it is. A friend of mine went to a church one time, and there's a little lady there, and she says, "Well, I can't preach like you do." And he was a preacher. And he said, "Well, what do you do, ma'am?" She says, "I smile them in and I smile them out." And so people have the gift of hospitality. They have the gift of giving and cooking and writing and singing and whatever it is that you do. The Bible says that we should present ourselves a living sacrifice, not dead, but a living sacrifice that is holy and acceptable to Him. And that is our reasonable service. That's in Romans chapter 12. So present yourselves. Present. That's the same way you spell it as a present. Make yourself. You be the present for someone, and create some joy and cheer in other people's lives. Well, thank you again. God bless you, folks, and Merry Christmas.